Problem is, you're not everyone else.
What's that noise going on in the background? We're started already.
Just an indication of how the day has gone and where we're heading.
Okay. Shall we start now? Hello, everybody. Mariner here, and welcome to Net That Haul. We are here for game week. Is it 30? I think it is. We've just got past that monstrous double game week 29, I think, with varying success and one or two disasters along the way. To discuss those and also what we're looking forward to this week, as always, we have almost the only ever present for Net That Haul this year, Gabriel at FPL Lens. How are you doing, my friend?
Yeah, I'm doing okay. I'm recovering from a typical yo-yo of a season of FPL. And also just want to do a little check-in here. Make sure I'm not FPL crackle this evening, and all sound is good.
You're all right. You're maybe a bit laggy, but anyway, let's see how that goes. It's just lagged a little bit, but nothing much to worry about. Certainly no crackle.
Okay. Well, that's good. If I see that my kids are home, so they're like on TV and stuff, so there might be some lag. If there's some lag, I'll turn the YouTube off and we'll see how we can fix it.
Yeah, I think you might need to give them a bit of a boot. But anyway, there we go. How was your week, first of all, Gabe? I suppose we better, seems though it was a double game week 29, there's a lot of people talking about some quite big scores on Twitter. I suppose we better very quickly touch on how we did.
Yeah, I mean, not great. I think honestly, I haven't checked. I think I got around 100. I think I got maybe 101, something like that. No bench boost, nothing like that. And so not really good. I've yo-yoed. So when I started my chip strategy back in game week 26, it was going okay. And the idea was to hold rank this week. And I didn't hold rank. I plopped back down to where I started in game week 26. So I think I'm around 150K or something like that. And I had gone up to maybe 70 some K. So, up and down, but still in and around it. And you know what I have to say? Here's how my week was. My week, like I had no interest in my FPL team, probably because it was doing so poorly. But I had a lot of interest in the matchups, which we've done here because they were doing so well. So I can't complain.
Yeah, one of which we predicted, which unfortunately came back to cast a spell on us, was our old mate Voldemort, who turned up and destroyed Newcastle's double clean sheet for me. Of all the people to come into the game, to come in and to score, was our friend Voldemort, he who shall not be mentioned. I ain't mentioning him because I can't stand the bloke. For reasons which most people on Net That Haul understand. If you are not quite sure why I call him Voldemort, just look back in history and work out why. Yes, why that certain gentleman isn't termed he who shall not be mentioned. Rather annoying, Gabe. But anyway, I thought my bench boost went really, really well until just the last few fixtures. And then it all just died away. And then Luke Shaw gets injured, which, and to be fair, I did not listen to you, my friend. You told me to ignore Manchester United assets. If I'd ignored Manchester United assets, I would now be in a far better position. I would have 2 Arsenal assets sat there waiting to come back in with a bench boost that's similar and no injuries. In future, Gabe,
those are things
I
you
will
can't
listen more.
I mean, who knows? Shaw's going to get injured. He would have gotten the clean sheet. There would have been more points there. But I will say the Bruno thing, the Bruno love. It was always unwarranted. We talked about it on the show last week, right? We said how, look, even if Bruno still plays the 10, sometimes it's not about the position you play, but it's more about the role that you play. And Bruno was going to be needed to progress the ball. And that's exactly what happened in the game against Brentford. Bruno was dropping really deep. Not that he was playing like a 6, but he had to drop deep to progress the ball forward. And we talked about it. But live and learn. Moving on.
Ten Hag, best player on the pitch, but not for FPL. But anyway, there we go. This is the challenge. Gabe, let's have a look as always. Let's dive in. and let's have a look at the philosophy. I think let's start there. And as usual, you will probably have me saying, "What the hell are you on about?" But anyway, let's go.
FPL Philosophy of the Week for Game Week 30 comes to us from René Descartes, and he says, "If you would be a real seeker after truth, it is necessary that at least once in your life you doubt as far as possible all things." So basically, the way I read this is, if you find yourself saying yes to things, or if everything sounds like a good idea, maybe there's something wrong with your thought process. Like I feel uncomfortable if I don't say, like, I'm a no person. Like somebody tells me something, and the first thing I want to do is say, no, I'm going to find a reason why that's not true. So I think we should always try to disagree with things, at least in one way. Find one way to disagree, and then I think I'll be much happier. So,
you spend half your life trying to find ways to disagree with people on Twitter right now.
That's fair. Maybe I'm a little biased towards this perspective, this memo.
I always like to say, you know, when you've got some grudge or something like that stuff behind, it always tends to have an effect to anything. But anyway, there we go. I'm not saying you have, by the way. I do on lots of things, and that's why I sometimes that's why I sometimes think the way I do. Anyway, I haven't got a clue about this. I really haven't. I mean, the only thing I would say here, I think if you doubt what you do in FPL, you know, fine. But when you look back on it, always think, did you make the decision based on what you thought at that moment was the right thing? And at the end of the day, if it was wrong, it's a flaming game. And who gives a shit if it goes wrong? Just laugh about it. It's the only way you can do. I mean, I looked at the show. Oh, no, here we go. You know, I could have done this, but, you know, am I going to lose sleep? No, I'm not. Yeah. But I think I've got past the days of sitting looking at the toilet like that. I mean, I must admit, maybe when I was at 122 in the rank last year, it was getting a bit more stressful. But now I don't care. I was 138 points, by the way. Just I never told you that. 138, and I think I'm now at about 70k. Right. Anyway, enough of this philosophy. Should we say hello to a few people, and then we'll dive in.
Let's go.
Do you want to do it?
Yeah, sure. We have several new faces and old friends in here tonight, so this is nice. There was somebody that was in here. What's that?
Because it's an Asia time zone for once. So with all our old mates who we did when we started Net That Haul are actually back on, which is nice to see.
That's right. That's right. So let's start there. Let's timestamp this for everybody. It's about 5:45 p.m. here, Pacific time now, because we don't change our clocks here in Phoenix, Arizona. You are in Singapore, my friend, and it is, what time is it over there?
8:45 on Good Friday.
8:45 Good Friday. Happy Passover to everybody, and happy Easter to everybody. And Ramadan is still going on. This is like a religious smorgasbord we have going on this time.
Absolutely. Ramadan Kareem to those celebrating as well. I hope you're having a peaceful one. But yeah, who's in there?
So let's see what we have. There was somebody in here earlier. They put a message, and the message just seemed to have disappeared. So sorry about that. We have
maybe they're on the wrong stream.
Maybe I was joining someone else. That happens. We have Asad Ali, a good friend from Twitter. Hello. Sebastian Ko says hello, or maybe it's Ku. I said Ko, but let me know if I got that wrong.
It'll be Ku, I think.
Ku. Okay, Sebastian Ku. Salah the Samurai, good friend. Hello. Big Mike's in the house. S. Scotters M. What's up, Scott? Dread is just in here to say good night. I don't know how long, if he'll be hanging out. I don't know. People here go out on Thursdays, so maybe it's a late night there for him. Maybe he got back from a concert. Jared Whittinger, it's so good to see him again. I know he took a little break. It's nice to see your face, my friend. Such a good guy. FPL Robbie, my Dutch brother there. Harbor Boy's in the house as well. KK says, I'm here for the Gabe lampfraud rant. Oh, it's coming. Yeah, I can't wait to talk about lampfraud. Tavindra Raj is in the house. Who else? Tom with the double M says hello all. And I think that's it. Did I get it wrong? Oh, Prince Okawa is here. Oh, Ohakwe.
Prince of Cowie. And yeah, it's nice and it's lovely. And it's lovely to see so many haulers in here. And particularly, I'm going to give a shout out to Harbour Boy, all the way from New Zealand. I think that's lovely to see people coming in from right as far away as that, and as well as all our old mates around the Asia area. And
that is the nice thing about our show is like the scheduling is complicated, but since we do it we're able to do it at different times. We're able to engage with different audiences, whereas others, and that's something new.
Exactly. So if you haven't tweeted it out, guys, and see if anybody else wants to just appear, please do. I'm not sure we remembered, but anyway, there we go. I didn't. What's Twitter anyway? Gabe, shall we get going into the matchups? And we're doing a slightly shortened version this week because we're just going to talk around the analysis because it's been such a short turnaround, isn't it? So I think we've got one game we'll go into a great deal of detail. But let's start with Manchester United against Everton. I think this is a very important game, certainly considering I own 2.5 Manchester United assets. The half is Shaw's hamstring, but I don't think I'm going to be benefiting from what may well be a clean sheet here, certainly according to the numbers. Let's talk through them. Fixture difficulty, Manchester United attack +3, very positive. Defense +1.8. Obviously, Everton on the opposite side. You're pretty much looking at traffic lights here. If you look down the middle of the slide with Manchester United bright green, Everton bright red. Dyche might be doing things at home, but he's not doing things away. Zonals look very, very strong right the way, left, centre, right for Manchester United. Slightly better in the centre, 4.34. 2.9 big chances predicted, 5.2 shots on target, 11.1 shots in the box, and 3.4 headers. Quite frankly, this could be a battering, Gabe. Your NetxG suggests probably a clean sheet, or likely a clean sheet as well. 1.92 Manchester United, 0.54 Everton. I'll let you say the rest.
Yeah, I mean, I think Manchester United, the NetxG number here is elevated precisely by that strong zonal matchup. It's, I mean, in the fours across the board, and I mean Manchester United at home, and I think this will be a bit of a theme of this game week. There are a lot of fixtures this game week where the home away matchup is really interesting to look at, and this is one of those. Manchester United at home versus Everton away. Those are two like opposite forms, and it really leans towards a Manchester United route here, and you can understand why people are apprehensive, right, after recent kind of displays. But let's not forget, I think Casemiro's back. Is he back for this one?
I think maybe 31. I think he's back. I'm not quite sure. Check that. Let me check.
Okay,
you keep going.
Yeah, so I mean, really, Casemiro, the only reason we really need to talk about him is because Bruno's dependability in terms of FPL production will depend on Casemiro. But United at home, it's if you have United assets, here's the question though, right? What United assets do you want? Like obviously, like Rashford's a given. Do you want Bruno dropping deep to having to progress the ball? Do you want Anthony? Do you want like?
It's not so straightforward, is it? It's really not so straightforward. I mean, look, I just think it's a very, very good matchup. If you're holding your free hit, right, and this is going to be a general comment right now, isn't it? People who are holding that free hit and likely to deploy it in 32, you've got the option to think about these. But I think otherwise, I think you possibly, maybe just going with what you've got. Personally, I hold, obviously, as I said, Bruno, Rashford, and Shaw. I'm just going to bench Shaw. I think I'm just going to keep it. I may even stand.
Really?
If I don't, I may even just start him, and then just let Botman sit first bench, something like that, who can come into a double Newcastle if I need it. But
surely Shaw can't play, right?
Well, I don't know. They've not said. They think he's out. It's likely he's out.
He did his hamstring, right?
Yeah,
he's out. He's definitely.
Well,
he may not be saying it yet, but he's definitely out.
That's what they said.
I
mean, look, in any case,
I think Shaw to a City defender makes sense. For example,
not if you need to. If you're only holding one transfer and you might want to bring Haaland back.
We'll get to that.
Yeah. Anyway, I think 3-0. 4-0, wouldn't be at all surprised here. I am a bit concerned, but the only thing is I think Manchester United defenders, I don't think many people own anyone apart from Shaw. So I don't think it hurts me that much either. Anything else to add on that before we jump on, Gabe? Because I want to try and whiz through these because I think we've got other topics as well I think we want to talk about.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Like looking like a 3-0 for me.
Yeah, okay. Villa against Forest. Well, there's only really one person to talk about here. And that's our mate WOL-CHE. To those who do not know who we christened WOL-CHE, it's Ollie Watkins' love of wood. In other words, used to love hitting the post. Now he tends to hit the ball just inside the post. To be fair to him, he is in great form right now, and I would say a fairly solid captain. In fact, I would say a very solid captaincy shout this week. I will say one thing though: I think his ceiling is the thing to worry about with Ollie Watkins. He doesn't tend to haul. We'll come on to that later on. Could he haul against Nottingham Forest? That's the question here. My fixture difficulty maybe doesn't necessarily suggest a haul. It's actually not as high as I thought it would be. Only 1.5 positive for Aston Villa, sorry, I should say. And 0.5 defence. Positive as well for Aston Villa. Forest obviously negative. The zonals are remarkably similar to Manchester United's, just slightly less green. 3.8, 3.7, 3.8. And they are going to get big chances. They are going to get shots on target and they are going to get shots in the box. The thing is, how many of these are going to be saved? This is the question, Gabe. Aston, on your NetxG, which takes into account the goalkeeper saves, 2.19 for Aston Villa. So you are fairly confident that they're going to get a couple here. Yeah,
and I think if we're looking at, so the goalkeeper is neutral in this matchup. Keylor Navas started quite hot at home and pretty neutral away. He's remained neutral away and has regressed a little bit at home. Forest is away in this one, so minimal goalkeeper effect according to the NetxG metric. But if we're thinking, if Villa's going to get 10 plus shots in the box, right? How many of those do you think Watkins will get?
Yeah, true.
Like
well, we could probably check that on his on his involvement, right? You keep looking. I'll see if I can.
I'll keep going. That's the stat that really stands out for me is the 10 plus shots in the box predicted. NetxG is obviously propped up by the zonals as well that are baked into it in the creativity metric there. The creativity metric takes into account the zonal matchups and the big chances matchups. So that's really strong. So we're looking at. But that's interesting. The fact that big chances predicted equal for both sides, 2 big chances for each. I don't know. I think Villa could get maybe more. Could get maybe 3 big chances, 10 shots in the box. Ollie Watkins kind of just hogs all that up. So he doesn't usually haul, but it shouldn't surprise us if he gets a double return in this one.
Yeah, he's heavily involved in everything for them, so 2/3 of everything he's which they do, he's involved in. So I'm not saying he's going to get 2/3 of those shots, but you could argue that he will have a number of shots, and the way his form is right now, is one of them at least is likely to go in, and that's why I think he's very solid. I also think Forest are in real trouble actually. They look like they are fighting. This is borderline a local derby as well. You have to think about that. It's only just down the M42. So, I'd imagine there'll be a big following of Forest fans going down there. I'd imagine it'll be a great game to watch, actually. This could be a good game to watch. It could be one of the better games this weekend. I think Villa's got too much for them, though, and I think I wouldn't be at all surprised if it isn't 2-1, but I'm not sure much more than that.
So you see a goal for Forest here as well?
Possibly, yeah. Maybe a Brennan Johnson might pop up again. He's probably due one.
There's some questions here in the chat. Is Matty Cash still injured? Apparently he is. Aside tells us he is. Moreno and Mings. And here's why I do think I kind of feel like Forest score, but I think
I'm I did contemplate Mings, and you look at the fixture and you think, right, okay, that's all right. He's been scoring quite consistently as Mings, actually. And maybe if you're in the market and wanting to take some money out of defence and you're thinking about getting rid of Shaw, he maybe is an option. But I mean, that said, you know, I don't think you can look far past these double. If you've not got the double Newcastle, I think you can't look far past that. I think they're just in such fine form right now. And I think when we look at the fixture difficulties later on, I think what we'll see again is that there's only a certain few teams actually looking very good with respect to matchups for defence going forwards. I think there's a lot of very neutral ones. But yeah,
I'll be highlighting Moreno in the thread.
All right. Okay. Cool. Brentford against Newcastle. And here's an interesting one. Are we going to bet on Ivan Toney getting his yellow card, which has been teetering on the brink now for some time? Are you even going to be owning Ivan Toney by the time you get to the deadline? I may not be. I may be bringing Haaland in for him. I've got to be honest. Do I like Brentford against Newcastle at home? I don't mind them, but the fixture difficulty doesn't necessarily follow that. It sees Newcastle as a slight positive on both attack and defence, which probably goes to show Newcastle's form, even though Brentford are pretty good at home, because all the numbers are either neutral or tend to support Newcastle's right. Particularly looks quite positive on the zones at 3.9, and they look like 4.7. Shots on target, 2.1 big chances, and of course you've got Callum Wilson back in the frame again. He's now on a hot streak. My argument is he is jumpable right now because he's that type of player. You go to Callum Wilson, he'll score 3 or 4 weeks, and then he'll get injured. You've probably got that very small window to go to Callum Wilson if you were thinking about it. Personally, Gabe, I expect Newcastle may have too much for Brentford here. I've just got that sneaky suspicion. But could Toney get something? Absolutely. Oh, Toney is an elite finisher. What's your side of things?
I almost want to throw the data out the window in this one. You know, it feels like, Toney playing against his former team, he's likely to get that fucking yellow that against his former team. But he's also probably likely to score at home, but here's what kind of turns me off about Toney a little bit is against Newcastle, you think Thomas Frank might be in that 3-5-2 again. And that 3-5-2 is just not very attacking. And Toney can still get one off of a break going up, where he links up the left and then he comes back into the box. But what's more likely is maybe, if they're hitting on the break like that Toney receives the ball and links the play from Brentford's left-hand side, and it's Mbeumo coming on the opposite side. I don't know. But then again, like Toney could get in behind like Trippier on that side too, right? So it's just super hard to predict. It's a bit of a rivalry kind of game, at least for Toney. I really don't know what to think about it. I feel like, look at Newcastle's right zonal matchup. That stands out. 3.9. It's huge. If so does that bring Trippier into the fold, right? Saint-Maximin got the assist from, like, that's where Trippier usually delivers the ball from.
Yeah, absolutely. And the only thing is with Saint-Maximin is, he's injured, so he's just made of glass. I mean, he'll last 5 minutes and go off.
But I'm saying because he was on that right side when he got that.
No, true.
So I'm just saying that right side. That's usually Trippier there. So Trippier will probably do well.
Yeah, you're almost unfortunate Saint-Maximin's fit enough to be on that pitch at that point, really.
And he should be on the other side.
Good goal, though. I have to say, it was a very good goal.
Newcastle were great, but so I don't know. Like this one, I'm genuinely torn by this, and I don't know what to do with Toney. I feel like I don't have the optimal forwards, and Toney is part of that problem.
And you'll need him for 32, right? Because he's got a game in 32. So I think you can't get. I mean, this is a game.
I can do whatever I want. I just need. So my situation, I have 4 transfers between now and 32, and I only have to fill 2 spots in my roster. So I have some wiggle room there, and that was by design. So I could get rid of but I also have billing, so I'm not going to keep
Yeah.
playing who plays in 32.
But this is an interesting point. We're supposed to better make it right now about free hits. This is where the strategies really start to diverge for the next couple of weeks, because I think there's a lot of people going to be unloading that free hit chip in 32. I think there's a lot. I'm certainly am with where my team's set up. I've no other option. I'm not exactly convinced that it's actually going to be that beneficial in 32. But I think what it is going to do around it is it's going to mean I can play my game rather than have one eye on 32. I can actually maximize everything around it, which is what I intend to try and do. So we'll talk. We're going to have a more in-depth look at 32 as we get closer. But yeah, it's certainly going to have impacts on people's strategies. And yeah, what's this? Salah the Samurai. Wilson seems to be the preferred starter, but Isak always finds a way to get a return. Well, West Ham found a way to give him a return, didn't they? By all accounts. Was it that what happened? They were bloody awful. Oh
my goodness, West Ham. They were comical. They were really funny. They would have lost in the game week 39 match against either side, I think. That West Ham team that showed up there. But I don't think that's right. I don't think Wilson's the starter now. Isak has been playing so well. And it was like these players are not used to the 3-game turnaround. And it was a 3-game turnaround, but what I think it casts doubt on Isak for the double, right? If Howe wants to rotate them, when there's a 3-game turnaround, I think when there's a 1-week turnaround, I think it'll be Isak. But when there's a 3-game turnaround, there'll be rotation, and in the double, there's a 3-day turnaround. So it makes it wary for that.
And Wilson's another one who's made of glass to a certain extent, and they don't want him to go off again. The thing I'll keep saying about Wilson, I mean, he's the perfect FPL troll to us all, isn't he? Because when he goes off, and then he'll just go into the doldrums and then probably get injured. So you always have a relatively short successful window with Callum Wilson, if you ask me, from my experience at FPL. Anyway, all right, Brentford, Newcastle. What would your score be, Gabe? I'm going 2-1 Brentford. No, sorry, Newcastle. 2-1. 2-1 Newcastle, not Brentford.
I'm going to go 2-0 Newcastle.
Oh, okay. 2-0 Newcastle. Right, okay. Clean sheets for plenty. So well, I'm going to have double. I'm going to have them both playing. I think if Shaw's not fit, I think I'm going to go with. I think I'm going to go Botman over a double, because I could also go double Brentford if I wanted to, because I've got Raya and Henry as well, right? I think the only thing that makes me think is Raya's 11 saves. 11 saves. I mean, they must have thought they'd pissed on a witch.
I mean, some of them were barely saves. They were just saves because they were on target. Yeah. but he played really well. He came up with some really big saves as well.
So the issue is, do I go? Here's a question for you: do I go Raya or do I go Kepa then? That's going to be That's going to be a common question. That's one of my dilemmas at this moment.
Who Chelsea play again? I don't know.
Who are Chelsea playing this week? We'll get to that in a minute.
We'll get there.
Hang on a minute. I'll soon be able to tell you. Wolves away.
No, you play Kepa.
Yeah.
And neither one's going to get a clean sheet, but you play Kepa.
No, I don't think they are. No, I don't think they are. That's even if Fat Frank even plays him. I mean, although saying that, I think Mendy's still injured for now, isn't he? I think so, but we'll go on to that in a minute. Fulham, West Ham. Have we got anything to talk about here? I've got Fulham. Mitrovic, 8 games out. Fulham at home aren't bad. Right? How much is our mate Vinicius?
Oh, wow. You're thinking Vinicius. What is he, like 5.5 or something?
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. Oof, I don't know. That's such a punt. You're using a transfer right now.
You're on the beach. You should be interested in punts.
Yeah. I'm interested in punts, but like Gundogan, not fucking Vinicius.
Look, I'm trying to make this entertaining for the haulers. I mean, look, I'm just making a point.
You're trying to make Fulham West Ham interesting.
Decent NetxG. The NetxG drew me to it, and I thought, well, actually, I'm going to,
No, here's
Andreas Pereira's. I mean, once again, another player who has bloody haunted most sellers, but certainly haunted everybody last week. He would have been lovely sat on a bench boost, wouldn't he?
Look at that central matchup for Fulham, and in terms of chance creation, right? 4.1 down the center. Vinicius isn't going to create the chances, but Andres Pereira. Then now you're talking. Now that's a punt that I'm interested in. I actually had an idea for a -4 involving Andres Pereira in, so I might go that way.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, look, there's not a lot to talk about here. West Ham are absolute crap. They are just a hard avoid for me right now.
Yep.
I mean, maybe Fulham might do a bit better without that petulant fucker.
Oh, there may be some people on that have goalkeeper issues, right? And we'll get to Chelsea. They keep coming up, but is stupid fat Frank going to continue playing Kepa? Right? He might play Mendy.
Is Mendy still injured though?
I don't think he
is. I think he is.
So who's their number 2?
I don't know. Play anyone. Yeah. I'll check I'll check Premier injuries in a minute.
He's not injured. He's not injured.
He's not. I thought he was. It was. Well, that could. Well, if that's the case, then I've got Raya coming in for a load of saves anyway, so that's fine. We won't worry about that. Fulham are going to win this. Fulham are going to beat West Ham. West Ham are in deep trouble, if you ask me.
They are in trouble. I agree.
West Ham in deep trouble. Leicester Bournemouth, interesting. I mean, the general thing here, Gabe, is that we've almost got a little bit of sort of like pre-season vibes with all these managers changing. We're now looking and saying, were the players nailed? The players who appear to have been nailed, are they still nailed? For example, I'll give you an example here who I really like the look of is Iheanacho. If I knew he was starting right now, I really like the look of Iheanacho between now and the end of the season. When he's on the pitch, his numbers are great. The issue is clearly something happened and Brodge and him fell out. So for that reason, are we starting to look at options again for Leicester perhaps? Perhaps cheap ones, although not there's any expensive ones anyway. What's your perspective? Then we'll jump into the matchups, but just in general, on a sort of like a holistic high level, how do you? We've got who else have we got? So we've got Leicester, we've got Chelsea, we've got Palace. There's another one I think as well. Spurs as well. So we've got 4 teams, right, who potentially maybe you could see some changes in the guard a little bit. We have got assistants in the game still with some of them as well, who may mean that everything stays fairly similar. But there's a possibility things could change, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think we know less now than we did last week, right? Because of all of these changes. So I mean, I mean, last week with Brodge, we've been saying it for weeks here on the show. I want no part of Leicester. I don't want Maddison. I don't want Barnes. Barnes got the goal, but we did say that it could come from that weak side. There would be like possession on the one side. The goal could come from the weak side, and that certainly was the case. But I just don't want any part of this uncertainty when Liverpool fixtures are turning. City is kind of back in the fold as well with doubles and good fixtures coming up. Like, are we really going to be focusing our transfers on the likes of shady Liverpool assets? I don't think so. But I think this is a good time for the first rant of the show. Like, so I've been writing about Mitoma since November 4th, and I want to sell billing for Mitoma, but I don't do it because I figure, in FPL, you have to be fucking patient, right? You have to like give your picks a chance and all that bullshit. And so I give my pick a chance or whatever the fuck. And then he moves from playing 10 to playing the 6. Who plays billing at the fucking 6? The fuck is, like, give me a break, man. I could have had Mitoma this whole time. I might have even been on a green fucking arrow this week if it wasn't for fucking, what's his name? Cooper or whatever? Fuck that, man. Cooper, Billing, play him. And then all of a sudden, Solanke is the right pick. All of a sudden, Solanke's balling up there, and he's getting all the XG and all the chances just because he drops Billing. That was messed up, man. Sorry.
The good thing about it is I remember exactly where I was when you were asking me about Billing, and what was my words? Oh, you can't sell Billing this week.
Yeah. But you would have been right if he would have played the same position that he'd been playing, and then he doesn't play the same position.
And again, that's why you are more than entitled to a rant, my friend. But what I will say is your thought process was right, which goes back to what I said before. Sometimes you can own it. The way I look at it, if you cannot control what is happening, why get angry about it? You know, if you can't control it, it's just one of those things. Yeah. But yeah, your thought process was absolutely right, and that is just one of the vagaries of FPL. But I mean, yeah, I'll go as far as saying, look, I'm not that interested in Leicester, but they've obviously got Manchester City in 31. They've got Wolves at home in 32. They've got Everton at home in 34. You know, they have for a cheapy asset, and maybe you have a third striker spot open, because I've got to be honest, there isn't much there. There isn't much there with respect to strikers. Who are you looking for strikers right now? Haaland, number one, right? Kane, I think we're going to have to sell because we need to move the money elsewhere, right? Haaland, number one. Who's your number two? Right now it's Watkins, but it's not going to be Watkins for too long, right? So then who? Jota, maybe. I quite like the look of him. Apart from that, who else? There isn't really. There isn't really that much.
I mean, you're not bringing Tony in because of the potential ban, but Tony, but there are others. So
you're not going to have that third striker at that level, right? You're going to have, you know, so you're probably looking at Jota or Tony, and I think given the fact that Liverpool have got a double game week coming up, and if Jota starts to get nailed, and I prefer him over that cart horse up there, so I much prefer Jota over the cart horse. So for that reason, that then puts me to the third slot, which puts me at.
You're just so everybody, you were referring to Darwin the donkey, right?
Yeah, not the cart horse. I call him Darwin. You can call him Darwin the donkey. I would just call him a cart horse.
Well, we could just call him El Burro or El Burrito.
El Burrito.
El Burrito. Darwin El Burrito.
The burrito, right? That's his new name, the burrito. Right. Anyway, I'm going off on one. Iheanacho, don't discount him. Is my question. There's my punt of the week.
I love Iheanacho. I do hope he starts playing. We'll see. Nice to see Zikri in the chat. Good friend. He's on our SKLW team. We've been good friends for a while. Billing is the new Bruno, and I'm here to land asking people. What's that?
Do you mean one of our active strikers, keepers, losers, weakers?
Yeah, very, very active, very friendly, very patient with Akib.
Not like our MVP. Right, anyway. I'm still bitter. Right. Tottenham Brighton. Now, here's an interesting one. What the hell is going on with Spurs? I mean, I own Harry Kane. I am not selling him this week because he is at home. But these numbers do not support him at all.
No. Well,
bear in mind that Kane has Bournemouth at home in 31, and that's why Kane is going nowhere. But saying that, not to say that they ain't going to turn up and give Spurs a bloody game either, given the fact they're fighting for their lives. Brighton, we know. I mean, first question, Gabe. Looking at these numbers, and they are not great. They're pretty neutral, aren't they, across the fixture difficulties and matchups? And I think virtually everything is pretty neutral. It's probably suggesting a relatively low-scoring, tight game, I think, which Brighton may nip because they have a habit of nipping games these days. First question, would you bench your Brighton assets this week? And if so, if you owned Mitoma, would you bench him? If you owned March, would you bench him? And if you owned Estupinan, would you bench him? That's my questions regarding this matchup.
I mean, you're not going to like the answer. Of course, it depends for whom. Who are you benching these players for?
Of course. But look, let's say we've got there is a benching headache to be had for anyone with Brighton assets, I think, this week.
Let's just say it's comparable assets, right?
Yes.
You're benching for comparable assets. And so, you know, here's the problem with benching Brighton. Well, here's the reason. Let's start with the reasons to bench Brighton assets and why it seems okay, right? There's been a bit of a fixture pileup, and that fixture against Bournemouth, it was grueling. That game was intense, right? And that was just, what was it? That was yesterday, or was it? No, 2 days ago.
2 days ago.
2 days ago. They're playing again on Saturday. They looked pretty tired and pretty beat up. Then to travel the Spurs, I find it to be like, if we're looking at things in a vacuum, I would favor Brighton. I would favor their assets. But if we're looking at things in context, with the context of the midweek game, they do concern me a little bit. McAllister with a little bit of a knock, despite that central matchup. I do expect like the chance creation to come. I think the zonals are going to be correct, and the chance creation will come centrally for Brighton and from Kulusevski and Pedro Porro for Spurs. I kind of like Pedro Porro to get an attacking return in this one, if I'm honest. Like a Pedro Porro service to Harry Kane header seems relatively likely.
Yeah. Your shot goal predictors likes Brighton. That's the only thing which stands out.
It's because they take so many shots. They just they go and they go and they go, you know.
Yeah, true. I'm planning on benching Estupinan. Because I've got Kane, so I can't see that. I fancy Kane over him, so that's the first one. March is a bit of an enigma, really, isn't he? He does get returns, but probably flatters to deceive. I think if I was, this is where I am right now, I would probably bench March over Mitoma. I think Mitoma is probably the one I would play. I think he's probably the player who might get something out of nothing, which is, you know, a bit of a snap, a bit of a, flash and grabs, smash and grab sort of raid, which might be what might be needed here. That said, Spurs have got injury problems, right, in defence.
Yeah, I mean, they have holes all over the place, right? They have, I mean, injury problems. They have personnel problems. They have like things to figure out. I agree with that order. I think Mitoma is probably top of the pick for the Brighton mids.
Then March, then Estupinan.
Well, March and McAllister. I think McAllister maybe benefits from the zonal matchup and that center. But McAllister, he looked tired and he did take he was fine, but it was a heavy knock. So I don't know if that'll affect his production. And when Brighton can't progress the ball, he gets like Bruno and fucking Billing syndrome, and he has to come down to help progress that ball. So there is that risk. The problem with March is the upside with March is his chance creation. He's always in space and he's always finding people. But the problem with March is that he's impatient. So when the chances aren't working, and he's a little bit greedy, so he wants something for himself, but he's not a good finisher. He can't shoot. So when he gets too desperate and he tries to do too much for himself, then March's influence, I think, wanes. So I think Mitoma, if I had Mitoma, I would probably start him. The other two are benchable, I would say.
Yeah, I think I'm roughly on that. And whilst we're on Brighton, there's a question here from Zikri. Ferguson for the third striker and a smiley face. I like it. I've got an awful lot of time for Ferguson. The problem I've got is I've already got 3. So if I was to perhaps downgrade March or to Salah.
The finishing has been quite similar this season.
How fucked up is that? I was to downgrade March to Salah, and I could go. I could go Harry Kane to Ferguson. That would be one way, I suppose.
If you downgrade March to Salah, you could upgrade Kane to Ferguson.
Yeah, I just feel it just feels awfully a bit neutral, really. Apart from being able to get to that silent double game week in time, I'm not falling over myself to bring Ferguson in. If you ask me, I think I'm all right with March. That's where I'm coming from. Although what it does do is by doing that, I'm laughing, I'm crying with laughter here. So saying I was downgrading Salah for March. It does open that midfield spot up a little bit because we are really struggling we've got so many midfield options right now. We are really struggling to try and fit everybody in. So Ferguson might do that.
I think Ferguson is. I love Ferguson for that third forward spot because I want to go kind of cheap. And when Ferguson plays, like he does have some upside when he plays, right?
But you let the cat out the bag there, didn't you? You don't own Mitoma.
I don't own Mitoma.
So that's the point. You've got that slot open, whereas people who are probably already got the 3, that's a much more. It feels a bit flip floppy. It feels a bit flip floppy, and at the end of the day, as much as he's been the probably one of the most divisive assets for FPL, I think, for some time. About with respect to the emotion of March against and March or not March or April, shall we say? Then do you feel by your own in March? Is he actually any good? Kane, Salah, March, Ferguson. It all feels a bit, Yeah. Like it all tastes the same, kind of. Yeah, but it does open up the midfield spot for a City double game week, as Zikri says. It does, and we will talk about City later on because we are interested for sure. Okay, I'm going to put you on the spot here, Gabe. Score prediction. We haven't done them all, but let's try and do this one.
1-1.
Yeah. 2-1 Brighton.
Ooh, you're giving Brighton that extra one. 1-1 Ferguson and Kane score.
Right. Okay. Mitoma's going to get one, mate. He better. I love him. He's ace. I love watching him.
My boy.
Anyway, let's keep going. Wolves against Chelsea. Oh, God. I mean, bloody hell. Chelsea, it really does. I mean, if Kepa plays, Wolves don't get many big chances. Shots in box are not too bad. Shots on. It could be some saves for Kepa here, I think, if he plays, which makes me think that we might be. It also perhaps suggests, looking at the zonals of the fixture difficulties have both been slightly negative on attack, that it could be very low scoring. And I think your NetxG seems to support that in principle. The shot goal predictor certainly does. So where are you with this? I see a very low scoring game. Probably one goal might separate it.
Okay, I don't even know where to start.
Well, I'll tell you what. First things first. Would you like to have a Gabriel moment on the appointment of Frank Lampard?
Okay, yes, please let me have a moment, if I may. So I'm gonna start with the data. Try to ease into this one because you know that meme where it's like corporate wants you to tell them what the difference between these two pictures are, and then it's the girl from The Office, and then she's just like got this blank face, and it's like they're the same fucking picture. There's this meme. These are the same teams. Chelsea think that they are this top 4, even top 6 team, and their data all season has been on par with the likes of Forest, with Bournemouth, with Wolves, with Southampton. When we look at the data comparison between these two teams, they're quite similar. And if you take the +3, the 0.3 goalkeeper metric from Jose Sa at home, If you take that away, the NetxG is 1.34 for Chelsea and 1.37 for Wolves. So let's not pretend that all these players at Chelsea, the Havertzes of the world, the Felix, are any different from like a Podence or a Dama, first of all. So those are the caliber of players that we're dealing with right now. And then Chelsea, they have all these problems, right? So what do they do to solve their problems? They go get the fucking manager that was fired because he was going to get a team relegated. That's like the Silicon Valley Bank, who was going under because of the whole fiasco here, hiring Sam Bankman-Fried, who went under because of the crypto thing, to solve their fucking like financial problems. That's like hiring Donald Trump as your attorney. That's like hiring Putin to run UNESCO. Like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, holy shit. like this world was upside down before this appointment, but Frank Lampard to Chelsea has turned any geopolitical anything going on this planet upside down, because this one takes the fucking cake.
So you're saying employing Frank Lampard is like giving Vladimir Putin the Nobel Peace Prize?
Basically, yes.
I love it. Fucking hell,
it's like giving, and for those like maybe in a different part of the world, it's like giving Benjamin fucking Netanyahu, racist motherfucker, the Nobel Peace Prize. Good God. Like, Todd Bowley is like the Joker in Batman, this madman, utterly fucking clueless, employing the villains of the managerial world to save his fucking struggling club. Oh my God. I hope Lopetegui tears them apart this week. Okay. I'm sweating a little bit. I need a drink, but I'm good. Yeah. I'm good.
I love this fucking show. There's people, I think there's probably people rolling about at home. Yeah. Someone said, I hope you clip this. Yeah, I think they should.
This will be my thread. Instead of matchups this week, it'll just be this.
The head's hurting. Anyway, look, I'll say this. Thank fuck I'm a Grimsby fan.
Exactly. Much better to be a Grimsby fan.
I think many clubs run worse right now than Chelsea. There are an awful lot, there are an awful lot, Scunthorpe United among others, who could get relegated out of the National League today. Anyway, right, next question. What else was I going to say?
What else is there to say? I don't know.
No. I mean, look, let's be honest. There are different levels of problems. They have not, in the bigger scheme of things, they'll sort themselves out, won't they? Other teams are in deep financial difficulty further down the pyramid. That's a completely different beast. And you know what I think about all these fucking Premier League prima donnas anyway. But this is a prime example of somebody who, quite frankly, doesn't know what the hell's going on. But I think I know what's going to happen this week. I think it's going to be a 1-0 to. Do you know what? I think Wolves might beat them. I think Wolves at home, I think they could even beat them here.
And I'll say, like, Chelsea weren't bad their last game under Bruno. Like, yeah. but here's okay. There's one more thing.
Another round.
It's just like, let's call it an appendix. There's an appendix. So Chelsea went from committing to tactics with Potter and his 3-box-3 and all of that. And then Bowley's like, well, tactics don't work, so let's try the opposite. And they go to Lampard, who is utterly clueless about tactics and has no tactics. He's like, well, maybe the opposite will work. He's like fucking George Costanza or something. I think Wolves win 1-0.
The F T-shirt, don't I?
Exactly.
I should have put that on this morning anyway. There we go.
1-0 Wolves for me.
Okay, look, it is what it is. I think, well, to be honest, I think they're a mess. I mean, look, those who did have double Chelsea I know people I saw pick with James and Chilwell, double clean sheets. Chilwell was a player I wanted. I think I'm prepared to let it fly a little bit right now. I still like the look of Chilwell, but I don't think I need to fall over myself to get him anytime soon. is where I am. I'm not sure what your prediction would, but your if you were in that predicament, I think you own Chilwell, don't you? After all you've said.
Yeah, I actually want to have a Chelsea asset on my team. After all that, and I would recommend getting Chilwell. I think
Even
Chilwell,
now, even right now.
Yeah. I think Chilwell owners have been really unlucky. I think he's been so close to hauling. He's been subbed off like just at inopportune times, and then his replacement comes and scores. So I think Chilwell hauls are coming. I think Bruno. I don't know what to think about Bruno. I have to be honest. I don't know enough about him, so I don't know if the defense will be improved or not with him. But if you have him, he's a hold. If you don't have him, and if you don't have Chilwell, and say you have Shaw, Shaw to Chilwell against Wolves isn't the worst idea. Even though I do think Wolves win this 1-0.
Yeah, and that's where I am, because I think we come on to the next. Thing. In fact, here we go. Here's KK here. Keep Chilwell for attacking threat. Problem is that lampfraud. I quite like this lampfraud.
Yeah,
likes 4 at the back, so could hamper Chilwell's upside. And I hope you can't hear this noise which is going on outside, because there's some building across the way from us, and of course it's now at daylight hours in Singapore, so we've now got I've got a load of racket going on. So hopefully it's not too bad.
Well, the lampfraud comes from, I forget, somebody on Twitter responded to one of my tweets. It's Stephen Gerfraud, Frank Lampfraud, and Brendan Frogers.
Yeah. Okay. I hope you can't hear this noise. Deal. Can you hear this noise? Can you hear the feedback coming? Good. Because it's loud. All right. Southampton, Manchester City. I suppose we're getting to the business end of the week now. This is going to be very interesting. First things first. You own Haaland, right? You've still got him.
Yep.
Hence one of your most pissed off moments of the week, and the fact you feel so badly that Haaland should have absolutely battered Liverpool out of sight, which we said would happen on Net That Haul. I said 5-1. I wasn't far off. Liverpool are bloody awful defensively. Haaland would have had an absolute field day. I think the situation is here, looking at this fixture difficulty, is why would you not go back to Haaland if you can go back for free if you think he is gonna, if we think he's gonna start? And that's where I am with this. Fixture difficulty of 2 positive for attack, 1.6 for defense. Zonals don't necessarily fall over anything, but big chances, 2.6. He's gonna get one of those at least. If it's him, even if he's on for 30 minutes, it might be enough against Southampton, although that would bother me slightly. It's more likely, I think, with the Champions League coming, if he plays, if he starts, he'll probably come off early. But that might be all he needs, Gabe. Being honest with you. I will bring him back in if I think, unless I hear otherwise, or, I don't get any snip, I think I'm going to bring him in because this looks like even at St Mary's, which, let's face it, if Grimsby can go there and win with 0.04 XG, anyone can. But anyway, another point. Yeah. Shots goal predictor supports Manchester City. Over to you.
Yeah, so I'm going to harken back to the philosophy of the week. And remember we were talking about disagree, Haaland is so obvious, right? Do you know anybody that's saying don't bring Haaland in?
Well, I mean, look, I'll tell you, the only point I would say is that there is a slight different. There's probably a couple of scenarios which might make you think about it. First thing, you don't have your free hit.
Even
secondly, you might need to take a hit to do it.
Even in those scenarios,
if you perhaps had both issues in play, then you might think. Otherwise, I don't think it's thought. That's
so in the spirit of disagreeing and questioning everything, I'm going to bring up some doubts and this is coming from a person. I've kept Haaland. I've felt incredibly unlucky that he's gotten injured, he missed the Liverpool, and so on and so forth. And So last year, and this comes from a conversation. FPL Libero kind of brought this to my attention in a conversation with him earlier today. I told him I was going to use it on the show because I thought it was really interesting. So last February, Holland tears his abductor muscle. And that is, if for people that don't know, it's kind of like it connects your like kind of pelvis to your leg. So it's right in and around the groin. This injury that Holland has, he was out for 6 weeks and then he was eased back in after 6 weeks. This injury that Holland has is a groin injury. We don't know the extent of it and we don't know what side it's on, which is really interesting because there's been very little information about this injury. But let's assuming that it is the same side, I think that's added risk. Even if it's not the same side, right? A groin injury is really tricky. There's a high likelihood of recurrence. So they have Southampton. These are the next matches, and there's a 3-day gap between these matches. Southampton, Bayern, Leicester, Bayern, then Sheffield United FA Cup. Forget about that one. Then Arsenal. It makes sense for Holland to be eased back in against Southampton, 20 or 30 minutes. Start against Bayern, even though it's not advisable. You want to continue to ease him back in. If you're looking at like the way this injury, he's been eased in similar injuries in the past. He shouldn't start against Bayern, but he probably will, which is suboptimal. Then since he shouldn't start against Bayern, against Leicester, he probably won't start either. So looking at 20 to 30 minutes against Leicester, then he'll play as long as he needs to against Bayern again to make sure they get through. Then it's Sheffield United midweek. Then it's Arsenal, which is a full 90. So if you look at those, like 6 games or so, it doesn't really make sense for Holland to start against Southampton and Leicester. It makes sense for him to start against Bayern twice and Arsenal. So yeah. I don't know that it's so obvious to bring Holland in.
I mean, look, I do see what you're saying. I'm going to just... I'm no expert on Pep. I don't think anybody is. The only thing I would say with Guardiola is that he likes people to have momentum. He likes momentum. And Haaland right now hasn't, right? He really hasn't. And for that reason, obviously with the injuries, no wonder, and a break. So that for that reason, I'm probably erring more on the fact he'll play probably close to maybe play a half or 60 minutes. But during that half or 60 minutes, he may already have a couple of goals. Now, does that make me want to captain him? I think you probably, if you bring him in, can you bring him in and then be over, then lose points on him? Because you would, because I think he'll be captained over 100%. So I think if you bring him in, you've got to captain him, even if you don't, if you're not 100% convinced. But I do think he's probably more likely to start. That my gut feeling. Again, it's only gut. My gut feeling is he probably starts and comes off early. You're thinking maybe he comes around the other way. I can see the minute risk. I do see the minute risk, though. I do see it. Now, that's the thing, isn't it? Because then, of course, we have another topic. Alvarez. Because there's the other topic now. Do you then start thinking, well, actually, he's an option? I think I'm still down the route of Haaland. I think I'm probably going to go that way, if nothing else, just for the long term anyway. Because I think, ultimately he's fine. And now I am up in the under 100k. I would like to stay there, and I think, and I think one way of staying there is probably getting back on Haaland sooner rather than later, if you ask me. Anything you want to add on the Haaland side of things before we jump into other stuff? Because I'd like to talk about the next best City option. In fact, I'd like to talk about the next best 2 City options, because we could be looking at 3 by the time we get to game week 34. So
yeah, just really quickly before we move on, and of course, we're both guessing here. We have no idea about starts or anything like that. That's not our game. We do. Yeah, but if I'm right and Holland is eased back in because of the nature of the injury that he has, even though he is in training already, the training and full contact is different. If I'm right, then Julian Alvarez, I think, becomes a really nice buy, really sneaky high upside buy.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with you. I mean,
And that's a segue into the next question, which is what's the second best City asset?
Yeah, like KK says, he doesn't exactly do much in the game anyway. He just turns up, sprints a few times, and scores.
Exactly.
It's not like us when we're breathing out of our ass because we're running round and round in circles for 90 minutes. But anyway, there we go. That's the way that other people play football. Let me come back to this next question. I think Manchester City is an important topic. I think they're going to become very important in weeks to come. They've got a couple of double game weeks. First things first. In our absolutely saturated midfields right now, can you find a place for a Manchester City midfielder? And if so, who?
I mean, I think I want one, yes. I think there's upside there, like, because people are so fixated on other assets. We haven't been focused on Man City for very long.
I agree.
I mean, you know, that there's getting in early in a really nice fixture. There's some really nice opportunity. Who is it's a really good question, and I'm going to turn you guys to Pete. What is it? FPL MF. It's MF Doom. I forget his exact handle. He wrote a really nice thread on comparing Manchester City. It's at FPL MF Doom, comparing Manchester City midfielders. He likes Mahrez. I thought Gundogan was on penalties, so I commented on that thread. And Alex, who's a Manchester City fan on Twitter, at 4LEX_MCFC, he says he thinks Mahrez is on penalties when Holland is out, but he's like 80-20, so there's some uncertainty there. I have to say, as far as role, I prefer Gundogan's role in the team, but you can't deny Grealish's recent production, and there's a reason for that, right? So Grealish is the kind of the guy they go to when nothing else is working, and this happens often away against deep blocks, and so Grealish has been able to get his. I think right now I would probably I've been touting Gundogan for over a month, but I would have to probably concede that it's maybe Grealish by a hair. But if I find out that Gundogan is on penalties, then Gundogan would be my my choice for second/third. Like, I think Alvarez is in this conversation as well. Gundogan, Grealish, Alvarez, depending on your setup, is really interesting.
Yeah, I've put a comment. I put something into the group just to start the topic off. But as we were starting to discuss Manchester City, I said top three City options, excluding Haaland. Of course, there probably aren't, but there's so many of them. You know, in practice, right? So what have we got? We've got Assad, Grealish, Ake, KDB, Daddybot, Grealish, Gundo, Stones, KK, Mahrez, Grealish. Harbour Boy, Stones, Grealish, KDB. There's a lot of variance here. I'll tell you what I am. I am in the Grealish camp. I think he's just that bit cheaper, which I like as well, which gives me the probably the confidence. I do think that there is a distinct possibility that Mahrez will be on the penalties. That's my perspective. I do think that. Which does draw me a little bit towards that fraud. But
always drawn
towards him. But I'll tell you what, there's one player I've not heard mentioned in all this, and that is Diaz. For me, I looked at the minutes and he is a bit more expensive than Stones and Ake, quite a bit more expensive. But I do get that feeling he's possibly that bit more nailed. And is that what we want right now with City, is someone who's relatively nailed, and maybe be damned with the cost? Because I'm almost at the perspective where I want to try not to worry about it. And I had a look back, and Diaz hasn't had a goal in ages, and he's due. And he does get them from time to time. So I'm thinking Diaz, actually. I'm thinking Diaz. That's where I am. I would go Gundo and Diaz.
I think there's definitely safety in Diaz. So I get that pick. I love that several haulers in the chat there mentioned John Stones.
Yeah,
I remember. Yeah, I think Jones is a really Stones is a really interesting shout. He's kind of playing that inverted role now. He's getting a little bit further forward. Rico Lewis is something from like a teenage dream or something like that from yesteryear, because Stones has come in and kind of reclaimed, or not reclaimed, but claimed that spot. But Ake, you can't beat that price for the amount of starts Ake gets, and Ake does get pretty far forward, especially on corner kicks and stuff. I think I would probably, as far as the defense goes, if I was not averse to the rotation, and I don't think it's, I think we're making more of the rotation than it really is, especially in defense. I think Ake is relatively nailed, like start like 7 and 9 or something like that. I think Diaz is definitely nailed, and I think Stones is relatively nailed as well, similarly to Ake. So that's 3 defenders we can go for. Of the 3, I think I prefer Ake just because of the savings.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm not saying I do see the point of. I mean, if I was to rank those 3, that's a more different. That's again a difficult topic. I can see it's the price which pulls me towards probably Stones. You know,
the middle of the road, the middle path.
Yeah, probably Stones is it's the natural hedge between sort of like nailedness and, if there's such a word, and maybe chances. But as for midfield, Grealish absolutely seems to be in Pep's good books right now. But Mahrez was, and then just vanished out of thin air. I mean, it can always happen. I just think Grealish is in great form. He's finally starting to show what he can do for City. And I think that saving puts him above Mahrez right now. So I think Grealish is my first port of call here. I think had him not had the Shaw injury, would definitely have been Grealish. Now, will I go the other way around, bring the defender in first and then bring in Grealish? But I honestly expect to have triple City by the time we get to 34.
Right.
All right. Foden is going to be out for a period of time. No one's talking about Mahrez. Foden is out. Correct. That is a good point.
I think Foden's back in a few weeks, though.
But it's just that bit more expensive. And I've just checked. I've got Premier injuries on my screen here, my other screen. And they're talking about him being returning around the 19th. I think that's too early. But anyway, there we go. Leeds Crystal Palace. Next.
Next.
I think let's just very quickly cover this game. And I mean super quick. I want to ask you a question here. There was an interesting Twitter exchange yesterday morning with somebody. I was sat talking to you on WhatsApp on the MRT going to work. And I said, what about Palace assets? Have you got any love for them going forwards? And my view was I was actually interested in the third striker slot. You know, and I've seen the fixtures coming up and I was thinking, you know, could we get a Palace striker? You were like, who? But then someone else, I can't remember who it was, that someone else asked, what about Eze? Players like that? I said, well, you know, quite frankly, where are you going to find a slot for him? But look, I'm going to say this out right now. Is there any love for Palace? Interesting enough, Palace defenders, the defensive side of things with WOL-CHE might improve. Maybe he's just going to try and limp him over the line. I don't know. What do you think?
I can't envision myself taking any player I have on my team out and bring a Palace player in. But I will say I think there are some sneaky players for Leeds. I'm just going to bring up Leeds fixtures really quickly here. So if I'm not mistaken, I think their fixtures are quite decent. And
Leeds, they've got home Palace, home Liverpool. That's easy.
Yep.
Away Fulham, home Leicester. Away Bournemouth. Yeah, they're not bad.
Decent. So somebody like say
you hate him.
Who?
You hate Jack Harrison. Every time I brought Jack Harrison in, you've laughed at me before now.
Definitely. Don't bring Jack Harrison. But who was I? Yeah, I don't know. Like I just again, even if there are some interesting assets, I can't see myself bringing these players in. I just can't. I don't think so.
I just think there's other players who we want to be going for with all these double game. We're going to be centering around all these double game week players now, and I think the template's going to get really strong. And and I think you're going to see a lot of the engaged managers all lumping in on these double game week players, particularly by the time we get to 34 now, and then obviously almost looking at the number of fixtures that players have got left. I think that's almost where we'll end up looking at this. I do think though that there's some. I was looking at Leeds myself, but I couldn't really decide where to go with this. Interesting this is, because I've got a funny feeling Leeds might scrape themselves even further out of trouble here. Oddly enough, I think Leeds could have, and I think the NetxG possibly supports that. Although my fixture difficulty doesn't. I don't think we need to spend much time because I want to get on to the next game, which is the key game. I think probably the most interesting game of the week as well, which is Liverpool against Arsenal. Let me go through the numbers. Liverpool fixture difficulty plus 1.3 attack. Arsenal fixture difficulty plus 1.5 Liverpool. Arsenal plus 1.3. Attack over defense here. Zonals, pretty neutral. Probably because Arsenal's zonals always are depressed away from home. Mm-hmm. Big chances. Arsenal's big chances stand out, 2.5. But then looks like they're not going to get many chances, but what chances they're going to get are going to be good ones, potentially. Liverpool, on the other hand, looks like they are going to get some slightly better. They're going to come out of it slightly better. What's your perspective, Gabe? Your NetxG doesn't really like Arsenal.
But if you take the goalkeeper out of it, right, the 0.6 from Alisson, the expected goalkeeper home 0.6, you're looking at 1.5 compared to 1.54. So I think actually the metrics align. They're like right on. They all agree in this one. So this is kind of like the epitome of the home or like this is like a good attacking team at home against a good defensive team away. So I'm going to read some stats that I wrote here in the analysis. This is the last 6 for Liverpool. The last 6 home for Liverpool and the last 6 away for Arsenal. Liverpool chances created home compared to away. 72 compared to 51. XGP non-penalty, or XG non-penalty, 13.32 compared to 6.36 away. Shots in the box, 73 to 53. Shots on target, 35 to 22. And goals, 16 goals home for Liverpool and only 3 goals away. So that's why people are bringing Salah in, which I haven't even considered bringing Salah in this game week once. I think it's crazy. And here's why. This is why I think it's crazy. In the last 6 away games, Arsenal have the second fewest shots in the box conceded, the best XG conceded non-penalty, and the joint fewest goals conceded, despite having played City and Spurs during that time. Spurs is actually a good matchup, but you know, with the North London derby, it's always unpredictable. So I mean, I think anything like 1 or 2 goals for either side wouldn't surprise here. But looking at the shots predictors, even 3 goals for one of the 2 sides also wouldn't surprise. I think from a tactical perspective, Arsenal's probably going to possess on that right-hand side and try to draw players to Liverpool's left, so to kind of Robertson's side. But I think Arsenal's really fantasy production is going to come from switching the point of attack and getting in space from their left-hand side. And it doesn't show up in the zonals or anything like that. From a tactical perspective, I kind of like Martinelli, and that pains me to say because I have the 2 right-sided players. I have Odegaard and Saka. So, of the 2, I think Odegaard is, if that dynamic plays out, then Saka is the odd man out here because Odegaard is the one that creates.
The one that I own. The one that I
Odegaard
own
is the one that creates for that left side. That's if that dynamic plays out. It may not play out, but that's kind of what I see happening here in like a pretty open, high scoring affair. But Arsenal will have all possession.
I see goals too. The only hope I've got for Saka is probably the penalties, from my perspective. Although, look, Saka's a fabulous player, and he has the ability to, he's had a bit of a rest now. He has the ability to pop up and pull something out of the hat as well, doesn't he? Mm-hmm. So, but I do think Liverpool I do think they'll score. I think this will be a very high. I think this is potentially for a classic. There we go. I think Liverpool could really come out and really go at Arsenal, but that's going to help Arsenal, I think. And Gabriel Jesus, actually, I think I quite like. He looks like he's getting back into a bit of form. The old Martinelli and Jesus link actually is very strong, isn't it? Which might also support Martinelli. Yeah. Interesting. I think 3-2. But I'm going to go 3-2 Arsenal.
Yeah, 3-2. Yeah, I agree. I think Arsenal win this game.
Yes, 3-2 Arsenal. Yeah. That one, Nima will be happy with that one.
Yeah, we got
he'll probably have as much hair as you by the end of the game. But there's another topic, right?
True.
Right. I think that might be the last one.
That's it. Yeah.
Oh, goody. So, right, fixture difficulties in NetxG then, just going forwards. As always, we put these on the screen for you. I think, look, this is quite nice. And I think we should maybe just spend a minute or two just looking at this. Right? If you look at the next 5, look who stands out attack. City, Liverpool, Brighton, Newcastle, Arsenal. Right? We think about defence, who stands out? City, Newcastle, Brighton, Palace.
Not a NetxG for the record. Stand out for NetxG.
What I'm saying is there's not as much there for defence as attack, and I think that's the general thing. The way I look at it right now, I think I'm almost definitely 3-5-2. I expect to go to 3-5-2 on the way, or 3-4-3 all the way.
Yeah, when Leicester has the best has the best defensive FDR of the week, your hopes for a clean sheet are not.
Yeah, we might have a problem. That's right. Your NetxG next 5, interestingly enough, let's look at that. City, Liverpool, Brighton, Arsenal.
Agreement.
Okay. Then who have you got? Then you've got a raft of them. Lots of them in one area.
It's the middle class.
Lots in the 7s, right? But then who's at the bottom end? Let's look who's down at the bottom end. Everton, right?
Chelsea.
Chelsea.
That's what they've been all season. They've been with these teams.
You did say that. But there we go. The numbers don't lie, do they? The zonal matchups for the next 5, very quickly. Brighton left. Let's go down the left for a start. Brighton left. Liverpool left. City left. Yeah, pretty much. Maybe a bit of Arsenal are there. Leeds are there. Yeah, okay. In the centre, Liverpool, City, Brighton again, and Leeds even. Leeds. And on the right, who have we got? Liverpool, City, Manchester United, Newcastle, Spurs, even West Ham a little bit on the right-hand side. No chance. That's ridiculous. It must be pissed. But anyway, there we go. That should give you a nice indication of, like, in a sense, for those who are new to Net That Haul, perhaps you are new because you're actually watching it at an odd time now for what we used to do. We used to always be on at this time, didn't we, Gabe? When it was just me and you. That gives you a nice indication of these matchups from the perspective of going forwards. There's the summary as well for this week, but we don't need to talk about that because we've already done it. So, Gabe, before we go to the captaincy, shall we just should we just say, is there any comments or anything you just want to just pick out, just whilst I just line ourselves up to go with the captaincy?
No, I don't think so. I think, I don't know when, you want to do the mini league after?
It's at the end.
At the end, okay.
Yeah.
And we have some questions start here.
Okay. So do you want to do a couple of questions? Are there any questions you want to do right now and get them out of the way? And then what we can do is we can go to the captaincy and then just finish off.
All right. Let's I'll just go in order here. Salah the Samurai says, many own Rashford. Is it worth doubling up on United mids, or is taking a gamble on a City mid more beneficial? I prefer the City mid.
I don't think I would be buying another Manchester United midfielder right now. If I think I'd go City mid as well. Yeah. I think I'd go Grealish.
Yeah, Grealish over Bruno. I agree with that. I've never been on board with that double United mid.
Yeah.
KK asks, question, do we start Botman versus Brentford or Gabriel versus Liverpool?
That's a good question. You see, the thing is with Gabriel, Liverpool are leaky, so he could be the one who gets he could get a goal, especially if Van Dijk's still sort of like got his head in the clouds as usual, which he seems to be right now.
Or if he's on the bench.
Yeah, or his bench. I actually think I'd play Botman though.
I agree. I think Botman likely up against the Brentford 3-5-2, which is less dangerous. So I would go with Botman. Isak to Wilson, an option from Salah Samurai. I would say no.
As much as I think Wilson's on his hot streak, I think Isak's good enough to avoid having to transfer.
Yeah, I agree. That's an interesting one. Thoughts on Willock?
Next.
I think
no, not really. Willock is he's a pure he doesn't offer anything other than attacking returns from my memory. I think you've got Wilson and Isak above him.
And I mean he's he's in
midfield, and
there's no way to fill him in to fit him in. But Salah Samurai, I think he's asking because Willock he's been playing pretty well and he's been involved in a lot of their attacks recently, but not for me. Not for me. Oh, we did this one already. Ferguson.
If you don't have 3 Brighton, I like that Ferguson option for the third striker.
Yeah. Oh, nice to see Andrew Deal, good buddy, journalist, sports journalist extraordinaire, in the chat here. Sneaky Bam Bam.
Squeaky Bum Bum.
Squeaky Bam Bam time.
Not Squeaky Bum Bum.
Squeaky Bam Bam time.
Squeaky Bum Bum time. No, no. I personally, I don't see anything. I don't see he's offering anything. He seems to have gone into his shell. He doesn't seem to be. You'd normally expect to see Bamford producing something by now. He's had consistent minutes, hasn't he? Just doesn't seem to be getting anything.
Yeah,
I mean, we have to comment on that, don't we? Really, he's not here. Andy will be fast asleep at this time of day.
Yep, that's true. Do you want to move on to the captaincy? Then we'll come back to some more questions later. Just while we are moving to the captaincy, I think now is a good time. We got up to around 40 people in the live chat here. We have 34. Now, please do, if you like it, like it. That's simple. That's it.
If you don't.
If you don't. That's our plug.
Don't care. We're enjoying. We just chat away like we just chat away like you're not here anyway. No, actually, we don't. I'm only joking. Right, we're ready. Let's go. Okie dokie. Captaincy metric time. Game week 30. It went. What did we go with last week? We went with Mitoma, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we nailed it. It is getting better now. This thing has struggled a little bit this year with the Haaland factor, I think. I think we've all struggled a bit with captaincy this year. In fact, it's been boring. But anyway, I reckon this is one of the most open captain weeks of the season, actually. And there's a reason why. First thing first, Haaland is much further down because of injury risk. I have not taken the flag off him yet. He will jump right up there to be in the mix, but he would not top it. I'll tell you now, if Haaland was fully fit, he would not top this metric. Okay? The person who tops the metric is Marcus Rashford, and that as close, or oddly enough, Fernandez dropped quite noticeable, but it was very close up to going into that game. It was almost who got the most return in that game would in the Brentford game would probably have topped the metric this week. Rashford's minutes obviously a little bit down, but NetxG is really supportive of him. Fixture difficulty supporting, anytime return supports it. Expected points supports Rashford. Zonal involvement is very strong, and hence he just nips the metric over. Kane, even against Brighton, which is very close. Watkins as well, and then Bruno and Grealish, all chasing up the Rashford here. It's tight, Gabe. This is as tight a captain metric as I've seen in some time.
We're looking at 5 players in the captain metric within 2 points of each other, and if you give Holland the all clear in terms of his fitness, then we're looking at 6 players within 2 points. And I mean, that is both great because it leads to all sorts of different outcomes, but it's also brutal if you get the captaincy wrong, right? And when the margins are so thin, it's really hard to choose here.
I'll tell you where I am. I'm thinking that if I bring Haaland in, I will probably just captain him. That's where I am. That said, if I was to rank the others in order, right, I'll give you two scenarios. I think Watkins has a lower ceiling, okay, but I'm very confident he gets something. Very confident he gets something. I think Rashford, I'm still pretty confident Rashford gets something, but his ceiling is much, much higher. That's my gut feeling. I might be proved wrong because, of course, if Forest don't turn up against Villa, that could be the case. Kane, to me, is fairly consistent. I'm not sure he sets the world alight this week. I'm not sure. I wouldn't captain him. He would be down. To me, Kane would be below Watkins this week. That's my perspective. I mean, the thing with Watkins is what pulls him down here is the fact he hasn't hauled, look. Because there's no haul, and this is about netting that haul, right? That's why we have it. That's why we have the haul in there. And Watkins hasn't. Whereas all the others have had hauls in the last 6 weeks. And in fact, Grealish again. And you'll see these numbers. The brighter the green guys, remember, the more hauls they've had. And in fact, the more frequent, the more recent the haul is now. Because what I've done with this in the last few weeks, and I haven't really had a chance to explain it to you, but I actually weight the returns and the hauls depending on whether it's the most recent match, the second match, the third, the fourth, the fifth, or the sixth match. So they might have hauled 6 matches ago, but it doesn't score much. Whereas if they've hauled recently, it does. Because you're talking about form, confidence, that type of scenario. And of course, it doesn't take into account the fact you might have played Southampton.
So what you're telling me is you've injected recency bias into the metric.
Well, I can't I? I designed it.
You can do whatever you want.
I mean, the only thing is it doesn't take into account, it's still got the fixture difficulty, it balances it out. Yes, there might be a bit of recency bias, as you term it, Gabe, but the fact is, what it still does is it takes into account everything else. It doesn't just look at recency bias in it, exclusively. What it does, it looks at it in context with everything else. So that's why I think it works. So yeah, in short, very, very close. What it does is that Salah isn't a bad pick, but by no means is he necessarily a case you've got to go out and get him this week, I think.
It's the next tier. Salah's the next tier. But I will say, before we get to that tier, and Peter Z brings it up, Grealish is a surprise. He's up there. He's 2 points behind the top, right?
Yeah.
And
Grealish's numbers. Look at Grealish's numbers. His minutes are good. His hauls are good. His returns are good. His NetxG is strong. His fixture difficulty is obviously strong. Now, the only thing is that, and it may be us who are picking this over the prediction programs here, the anytime returns and expected points are down. So
Mm.
there's the thing. This is the punt here, right? We see something. But not everybody is as confident as the metric on Grealish. And I think
So
that's
this is an interesting wrinkle, right? Because Grealish is a Net That Haul pick. But so could we say that the only reason Grealish isn't topping the metric is because third-party sites that do predictions is dragging him down in the...
Hang on a minute.
Because these predictions, the anytime attacking return and the expected points, these come from we don't make these come from like Hub and stuff like that. Based on everything we make in-house, Grealish might be the top.
Grealish would be top.
I love that. I'm bringing him in. Billing to Grealish.
Grealish would be top. He would be
Grealish
top. He would be on 88. I've just literally just put it. I've just literally just overtyped the calculation and then untyped the over, then untyped it. Yeah, 88 he would have been. That's if he had the same anytime as I think I put 94 and 94 in. So I put it in sort of like middle of the road. So yeah, he would, and I think that says it all, doesn't it? He is up there now. I still think that. Whoops, what am I doing? Sorry, I still think that Haaland is probably the safe pick. But if you wanted to go for Manchester City, I like it. God. Go on, Gabe, captain him. You're on the beach.
I might. I'm thinking about it. Grealish, Captain Grealish, or Alvarez.
Hang on, let me get some water.
Oh, it's Peter Z is MF Doom. Pete, we referenced your thread on the city mids earlier, so thank you for that, my friend. Yeah, I mean, you picked Jack.
I mean, just in closing on the captaincy metric, and again, you can use this captaincy metric for even thinking about who you're planning on bringing in, right? And in fact, what we're going to do, we are all about metrics on Net That Haul. We don't have backstories or anything else. We don't have bullshit. We let you make your own decision. Gabe will tell you all about it. Gabe's having wonderful rants at the moment on Twitter about people with narratives. I've even noticed some changing context of some tweets as a result of people's criticisms. But there we go. There's another thing. I think it's quite funny. What I would say is that this is a captaincy metric. Now, when we get to free hit territory, which I think we are in 32, certainly for me, I think I'm going to pick my free hit side based on my algorithm for a bit of fun. And I'm going to go with it. Although I will give Gabe the opportunity to change it during the show based on matchups. And then if he is wrong, I am going to crucify him. Which is quite appropriate given it's Good Friday.
Yeah, I'll be in the hole, in the brig for a while.
You will be in the brig for sure. But no, anyway, there's the matchup. So Rashford tops the metric. We do expect him to net that haul this week.
Yeah.
But we do not discount the likes of Watkins, Kane, and Jack Grealish. And of course, Erling Haaland, if he is fit. If Haaland is fit and starts, then it is a pretty obvious captaincy pick, despite what the metrics say. I think, particularly if you're trying to hold rank. If you don't mind, if you want to gain rank, I mean, seriously gain rank, right? Maybe going against Haaland's an option. But then again, Gabe, you might need a giant sofa.
If you want to drop rank, maybe going against Holland is the right thing.
Where is Madison? 68. 68.
Where's Madison? He's at fucking Leicester. He's stuck at Leicester. Enough said.
Let's get these last questions out of the way and get out of here, because I think we've covered most of the questions. So we've done it in 2 bits. So let's get these last questions. Then I'll do the haulers, then the Minileague, then out of here.
All right, let's do some more questions here. We got Daddy Bot, a hauler coming in. What goalkeeper pair on Wildcard for the rest of the season?
Oh,
that's a nice, interesting question there. Where do I have my? I'm going to bring up the goalkeeper metric. I think it also depends on what chips you have. If you still need to bench boost. If he's saying what goalkeeper pair, I'm assuming you still have your bench boost. Honestly,
Edison. Edison. If you've got your wild card to come, why not Edison? They've got 2 double game weeks. He's nailed.
What about Allison?
Yeah, he's second. But the only problem is I wasn't going to mention him because it's Liverpool, and I'm refusing to go.
Yeah.
My metric is Edison, Allison, De Gea.
Okay, where's Leno?
Way down.
Is he?
Yeah. Raya. Edison, Allison, De Gea, Raya.
Oh. Who else do I have here? Martinez?
Yeah. Don't like him, though.
What do you mean? You don't like him as a human being?
I just don't like him. I'm not picking him. Nah.
I love him. I think he's great.
No, I mean, look, it's
positive attitude.
Do you know what? I actually think there's an argument to say go for that premium keeper and just drop the other one out of the way. If particularly bench boost has gone, you can go in with a really cheap, bloody crappy asset as well. You put a 4 million one in and someone like Edison. You're not a million miles away from what we've got spent on goalkeepers right now. But what you're going with is potentially a solid returns with the number of fixtures. Someone like Edison,
an Ederson Steele combo or something like that. Sure.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah.
Next question from Assad. Who are the best Newcastle assets other than Trippier? Only have Trippier.
I mean, look, for me, I can't look back that second defense. I think the Newcastle double defense, I think, still's got something in it. And so I like Botman. I think he's cheap. That said, I do quite like the forwards. The only thing is, again, is that am I busting my ass to get a Newcastle forward in now when I'm more interested in that Liverpool forward. I think I'm very interested in Jota come game week 34. Very interested.
I think the best way to go with Newcastle is to make sure you're doubled up on defense.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Sebastian Koo, based on the zonal matchup of managerless Leicester, sell Maddison for Grealish or Martinelli.
The only thing is you just don't know how players are going to react. I mean, Leicester are snakes, right? They've done it before. Can you remember when was it Ranieri? I think it was Ranieri, wasn't it? When he got sacked the next week, they had pictures of like snakes on a plane where Leicester went out and battered someone the following week.
Yeah, I really do
remember that.
Yeah,
they've done it before. They are snakes.
I would absolutely sell Maddison for Grealish.
I think I would sell him. I'm just saying they are snakes, but I think I would absolutely sell him.
Yeah. Aussie Sharks, Martinelli to Grealish.
Not this week. Ooh, that's horrible. Now, mind you. Oh, dear.
It feels kind of sideways. Like it's kind of a similar punt. Not punt, but, I don't know.
He's clearly got his free hit in hand, if he's thinking this way. That's got pain.
Probably not. I mean, Martinelli going up against Trent. Nah.
Yeah, it's got pain all over it. That has. Yeah. What I'm saying is, I'm not sure it's worth. I like it for the long term. So maybe if you're thinking about it from the perspective of just doing it and just running with it till the end of the season, I'm sure if you predicted his points between now and the end of the season, it would pay itself off. But in the short term, to lose your transfer and then think you might need to do, I'm not sure. Okay.
And then he comes in with one more here. Kepa to Ederson. I don't know about that goalkeeper chance, right? I say keep rolling with Keba until he becomes a problem.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think I'd waste the transfer right now.
Right. Let's see if there are any other ones that came in. Do you think Lampard will go with Mondi and bench Kepa? Probably, because he's a moron. K7 says hello. What's up? Andrew Deal. Fun fact: Ederson has the 19th best points per game this season.
That's terrible, isn't it?
And Leno is 6th best. Nice.
Yeah. Again, that's how you can make a story out of statistics, right?
Yeah, exactly. And then Roti LCK comes in. Is Zinchenko and Martinelli a good option long term? I don't like Arsenal's defense long term.
No,
I think they're going to concede.
I just see Arsenal. Look, Arsenal's a great team. I absolutely love watching them. But as an FPL assets now, they haven't got those double game weeks. They haven't. I just genuinely think what we will do slowly but surely. And I'm already down to 1 Arsenal already. But I think what we'll generally see is a slow drop off on Arsenal assets between now and the end of the season, because people will be rushing in for these double game week assets. The Manchester Cities, the Liverpools of this world, and players like that. That's where I see people going. That's where I see the template going. And I actually think that probably it's the right thing to do as well. Certainly Zinchenko would be the first to go out of those two.
Okay.
If you
I
agree.
think that's it in terms of questions. Move on to...
That's it for questions? Right, so let's just do... So before we finish then, let's just do the mini league and the shout-outs. And then if we've got any more questions right at the end, we'll cover them again.
Okay.
So there's the haulers. So Super Haulers, Harbour Boy, Daddy Bot, Greenback Golf, Tahir, FPL Robbie, Patreons, L, Ron and Lucian. Haulers, God, I can't read it on my screen, Gabe.
I can get it.
William, Tersh, Catherine A, Dom, Claire FPL, FPL DG Boy 88, Akshay, it's Connor Hunt, Lindsay, Fantasy Football, Casuals, Tom Gorsuch, Blonde, S. Scott as M, Scott's been today, FPL Teacher, Oscar Arias, Donny, FPL Mike Halpin, Kevin Rose, can't see the next one underneath my thing. Who's that one at the bottom?
Podner,
FPL Craig and Dread, and we really must need to update that slide, which we probably missed one. I've got an horrible feeling, but if we have missed you, we still love you. And the mini league, right? Okay, so here's the mini league. We haven't done this for ages, and apparently we've had a request, probably from Benjamin, who's top.
Pretty much, yes, exactly right. I mean,
I didn't know that.
646 overall in the world. Like he deserves a mention.
What rank is he in the world?
646.
Nice. I can remember last year we covered the mini league a lot.
I wonder why.
This year,
you would always cover it.
I can't think why we never covered it all with last season. I have no idea. Can you think why?
I don't know why it was so important to us last season and why this season it's not.
Because I had to give the prize up. That's why.
Exactly, because you topped it.
Yeah.
But no, honestly, Benjamin Lockwood, he's been he's followed us for a long time. He's fighting, like he's got some stiff competition up there. So we got Evolution FC, that's Benjamin Lockwood in first place with 2,031 points. That's over 100 more points than I have. So thanks very much. Gladiators in second. Faith Ogundele, Gladiators coming in a little bit behind, about 19 points behind, 2,012 points. The Constant Gardener, Jack Henry Norris, is coming in fourth. Oh, I missed one. Misclick. No wonder I missed it. Their name is Torgir Jonsson. I'm gonna guess. I don't know. I have no idea.
Jonsang. I can't read it. It's too small on my bloody screen. But anyway, there we go.
Fox River, Brad Curry. Brad Curry's always in the top, man.
Brad has done really well. I don't know if you know Brad, but Brad actually plays cricket for Sussex as well. So he's a cricketer.
Oh, it's
Sussex.
that. Okay, yeah.
Brad,
I've seen him in spaces. Yeah, that's
Brad,
cool.
Yeah, Brad, a good guy. So yeah, he's again doing very, very well. But look at those scores. 141, Gabe. Look at these scores, Gabe. Look at these scores. This is how the proper FPL players do it. Look, 141, 136, 140, 149, and 143.
Yeah, that's a little more than I got this week.
Anyway, there we go. So have we got anything else? Because we're gonna have to, I don't know how you're going to do these timestamps because we've got 3 lots of Q&As, part 1, part 2, part 3. Anyway.
I've been writing most of them down, so I think I have to have a few to go back and check. Let's do one last question, then we'll get out of here, Mariner, at an hour 49 minutes here. Rosidi Rosley says, I want to do Henry to Stones, but I don't know if it's worth the transfer. I say do it.
He is the first person I want to sell.
Henry.
First one. He has to go. He is literally burning. My keyboard is burning to sell him. The trouble is, I've got bloody Shaw now with the problem. This is the problem.
Next one, Solomon T. Have trips. Bench Botman or Henry? Bench Henry.
Yes. Yep. Yes. That's not even. That's relatively easy. That one. I think you watch it. You watch it going the other way.
Yeah.
Right.
That's it.
I think that's it. Gabe, absolute pleasure. I've really enjoyed it, as always. It's always nice to do it. And it's nice. In fact, it's daylight. I'm going to go out and enjoy Good Friday now in Singapore. Bite of lunch. No need to go to work this week. And nice, relaxing evening for you, my friend.
The sun has gone down. It's full on nighttime here. I'm going to go get myself a glass of wine, sit in the hammock outside, and contemplate everything but FPL. Perfect. I couldn't think of anything better. Gentlemen, everybody, thank you so much. We were Net That Haul. Please, if you haven't hit like, please do down below. Please also hit subscribe. Join if you wish. We do have a Discord thing, which we do keep up to date. Ultimately, we're only little old Net That Haul. We're not busting our asses trying to go out and sell narratives and this, that, and the other, and try and make big stories. We are Net That Haul, and we will see you next week. And we wish you all green arrows. Take it easy, guys. Peace.
Bye-bye.